Look, I didn't see Jon Stewart. He's actually quite funny. Look, he's talking about the PACT Act, which is a bill I support. It's a bill most senators support.
Oh, hello. I'm Jon Stewart. Apparently. Quite funny. And I'm awfully interested in what Theodore Cruz is about to say about the PACT Act. Go on.
But what the dispute is about is the Democrats played a budgetary trick, which is they took $400 billion in discretionary spending and they shifted it to mandatory.
One thing, what Ted Cruz is describing is inaccurate, not true. Bullshit! This is no trick. Everything in the government is either mandatory or discretionary spending, depending on which bucket they feel like putting it in. The whole place is basically a fucking shell game. And he's pretending that this is some new thing that the Democrats pulled out, stuck into the bill, and snuck it past one Ted Cruz. Now, I'm not a big city, Harvard-educated lawyer, but I can read. It's always been mandatory spending so that the government can't just cut off their funding at any point. No trick, no gimmick, been there the whole fucking time.
And so it's just part of the out-of-control spending from the left.
They want to buy Hunter Biden cocaine, a crack cocaine, and they want to purchase all your pronouns. Be careful. They're coming for your pronouns. It's nonsense. There is nothing in the bill that is not related to veterans spending. And don't take my word for it. An asshole on an iPhone. Read it. It's at congress.gov. This is for veterans who suffered health effects from being exposed to burn pits and other toxins. That is it.
What the Republicans got made clear is if we leave that spending as discretionary, don't play the budgetary trick, the bill will pass with 80 or 90 votes.
I don't know how many other ways to say this, but there was no budgetary trick and it was always mandatory. And when they voted in the Senate on June 16th, they actually got 84 votes. And you know who voted for that? Ted fucking Cruz and every other one of those Republicans that switched their votes. There was no reason for them to switch the votes. The bill that passed the Senate 84-14 on June 16th has not had one word added to it by Democrats or spending fairies or anybody else. It's the same fucking bill. This is bullshit.
I didn't see what Stewart said, so I don't know.
Do you
what
think
it was.
people
So
say
I got to get on
he
the
can
plane.
run?
A plane? I wonder where that's going. Perhaps. I leave you with a quick montage of Ted Cruz praising to the heavens our nation's fighting men and women, juxtaposed with him fist bumping his Senate colleagues after removing those same veterans' benefits and health care for toxic wounds.
To our veterans, we say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mr. Cruz, no.
Motherfucker.
This was Jon Stewart making fun of the ugly Ted's hypocrisy. Now, the PACT Act would allocate additional funding for more than 3 million American veterans who were exposed to the toxic burn pits and other toxins while fighting overseas. This bill had first passed the House back in March, and then it passed the Senate 84-14 in June. But the Senate added a tax provision, and since any bill with tax provisions have to originate from the House, the bill went back to the House in July and passed the House 342-88. Now, you would think that it passed the Senate no problem, right? Well, when the Senate took this bill back up, they decided not to pass it. Why? Here's the excuse Republicans came up with. Senator Pat Toomey claimed that the bill included a $400 billion slush fund that could be spent on other domestic programs. First, we're exactly more suited than for the veterans. Second, how come the Republicans had no problem supporting and voting for the very same war that caused the health problems for these veterans? Look, we could talk about the hypocrisy of the right all day long, but here's the real reason to why they voted against the bill. They voted against the bill because after a zillion years, Democrats finally decided to play the McConnell game and played with his rules. Democrats wanted to get the CHIPS bill passed, which would allocate funding for the domestic semiconductor industry and help us compete with China, where these chips are currently made. Republicans basically said, well, we'll get on board with this chip bill so long you don't pass a reconciliation package. Democrats agreed because reconciliation has been such a disaster for the past year anyway. So Democrats put the bill on the Senate floor, and it passed. Then immediately after the bill passed, Joe Manchin released this statement about the agreement, about his agreement with Chuck Schumer on a reconciliation package. The bill would, among other things, lower healthcare costs and combat climate change. This pissed off Republicans so much so that they decided to retaliate against the Democrats by voting against the next bill that was up, which just happened to be the PACT Act. In other words, denying American veterans extended healthcare benefits because partisanship is more important to Republicans than our veterans. To see more videos like this and to support my work, click the subscribe button here on the screen. You may also follow me on Medium, where I write about the most important topics daily, or check out my podcast, Dr. Ryan Alva Show, on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast.